When we return, is it the end of the world or just morning again in America? Advertising enters the voting booth. Sell and Spin, History of Advertising, will continue here on the History Channel. We now return to Sell and Spin, a history of advertising, here on the History Channel. Political victory in the United States has long been achieved through shaking hands, whistle-stop tours, conventions, and advertising. With the advent of television, advertising has come to the forefront of the political process.
No man that knows anything about war is going to be reckless.
Let's look at the record of the dark shadow of voting fraud, such as this, and his connections in high places.
It's amazing how many things there are in television that you don't see.
Voted himself a huge pay raise.
Decided to raise taxes.
Reduce the penalty for the crime of rape.
Don't see.
Television, voting personal fortune, it just doesn't add up.
Gee, Dad, is all that true?
Yes, son, every bit of it.
Political advertising is a disaster. Our political discourse is dominated by, snide, insinuating, baseless, and trivial 15 and 30-second pitches.
Political ads on TV didn't start out ugly. Indeed, they were rather benign. The first American political campaign to make extensive use of television was Dwight Eisenhower's 1952 run for the Oval Office. Ike's ad campaign was overseen by Rosser Reeves, the noted Madison Avenue master of the hard sell. The commercials made use of standard advertising techniques, like repetition, testimonials, and jingles.
You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike for president. Hang out the banner, beat the drum, we'll take Ike to Washington.
Rosser Reeves was the first sort of professional ad person brought in to run campaigns, and his view was you could sell candidates just like you could sell toothpaste. And indeed, I think his view has been borne out by history.
This, then, is a real all-American among Americans today. This, then, is Dwight David Eisenhower.
In the early years of political commercials, the ads remained positive, focusing on selling the candidate as someone who could be trusted.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and the change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
But an ad for Lyndon Johnson's 1964 campaign against Barry Goldwater exploited a different technique: fear. The commercial, called Daisy, was created by Tony Schwartz.
When they came to me on the Johnson campaign to do sound for various spots, I said, you just take a child picking the petals off a daisy.
6, 8, 9.
And then go in on the eye and then have the countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
And the last, and we could put words of President Johnson's over it.
These are the stakes. We must either love each other or we must die.
The ad arrived at the right time. A deepening conflict in Vietnam and a heightened concern about the Cold War left Americans uneasy about the future.
The commercials dealt with the deepest feelings and fears that humanity has ever had, the fear of nuclear war.
Even though this provocative commercial aired only once, it resonated with voters, forever branding Goldwater as a warmonger.
There's no mention of Goldwater, yet the image was so powerful that people put all the pieces together outside of the ad and realized, whoops, this guy was much too dangerous, and voted for a guy who, in retrospect, might have been equally as dangerous, namely LBJ.
Johnson's landslide victory helped usher in a new phase in political advertising.
We've gone from advertising in which the sponsor of the ad says nice things about himself or herself to so-called attack ads. meaning there's my opponent and he's a disaster.
Political advertising on television, good and bad, has remained a contentious issue.
The negative ad gets all the press, and when we see it, we quickly decode it. In some ways, the dangerous political ad is the positive one. It's the Reagan Morning Again in America ad, which passes by our radar system with very little interpretation.
It's morning again in America.
The advertising for Reagan's re-election campaign was an exception in the trend toward increasing vitriol, offering instead a feel-good vision of American life.
They said it was the best advertising that had ever been done in politics, and they said that it would change the future of political advertising, and they were totally wrong. Political advertising got a lot worse after that.
Dukakis not only opposes the death penalty, he allowed first-degree murderers to have weekend passes from prison.
It wouldn't be long before the infamous Willie Horton arrived on the political scene. A series of ads, courtesy of the forces promoting the candidacy of George Bush, portrayed Michael Dukakis as soft on crime.
The revolving door ad in 1988 says, you elect Michael Dukakis and you'll have all these prisoners being let out on weekend furloughs, and God knows what will happen to you and your family if you live near a prison.
The ads pushed the right buttons with the electorate, helping to propel Bush to a convincing victory. Negative advertising has since become the mainstay of political campaigns.
While they've been discrediting each other, I've been issuing my 82-point plan to eliminate the federal deficit.
Politicians are not likely to abandon negative ads anytime soon because of their proven ability to work.
It's much easier to get people to withdraw than to convert them from one candidate to another. So the principal effect of negative ad campaigns is to increase the number of people who say, hell with it, I'm just not going to vote.
And not vote they have. The rate of voter turnout in the United States has decreased by nearly 15% since 1960, 4 years before Johnson's Daisy commercial. Getting all of these people not to vote is expensive. During the 1996 elections, candidates for federal office spent a combined total of $400 million airing commercials on television.
The cost of advertising is something that precludes almost 99.9% of the population from ever thinking about running for office.
But for that other 0.1% of the population, TV can play the role of kingmaker.
Anyone with a deep pocket has a huge built-in advantage. He can just go in there and saturate advertising simply by investing his own money.
If we decide to take this level of business creating capability nationwide, we'll all be plucking chickens for a living.
While these wealthy political neophytes may not always emerge victorious, their constant television presence does affect the debate, and perhaps even the outcome. Potential fixes to the problems of political campaigns relying on television have run smack into the U.S. Constitution.
It's very difficult to turn down a political placement because of First Amendment issues. Candidates have the right to speak. Political speech is protected.
Television allows politicians to speak to the masses, but it's not a two-way street. Back in 1956, presidential candidate Adlai Stevenson foresaw the serious shortcomings of a political dialogue based entirely on television commercials.
I can talk to you, yes, but I can't listen to you. I can't hear about your problems, about your hopes and your fears. To do that, I've got to go out and see you in person.
A nice sentiment for 1956, but even less likely today. Coming up, commercials take center stage as a modern form of entertainment. Sell and Spin, a history of advertising, will return here on the History Channel.
We're Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
We now return to Sell and Spin, a history of advertising, here on the History Channel.
They snap, they crackle, they pop.
In today's scattershot television landscape, with hundreds of channels competing for our attention, And the remote control at the ready is harder than ever to get people to watch ads, much less remember them.
I'm sure that if advertisers had one wish right now, they would wish that the remote control could be removed. To make a commercial that'll stop somebody from moving their finger, you've got to waste a huge amount of time on all kinds of pyrotechnics or extraordinary measures just to keep that finger quiet. The remote control clicker is sort of the cross to the vampire of advertising.
Somebody forget his Ray-Ban sunglasses.
To reel in today's more sophisticated and restless audience, advertising has to do more than inform. It has to entertain, capturing our imagination or tickling our collective funny bone.
I always believe that through entertainment of a really high level that made people laugh or that moved them, you can sell better.
Really nice! Is next evening wear. Very nice.
When people watch our work, 30 seconds later, they're happy, they're smiling, they're feeling good, so they feel good about the brand.
Having a choice is better than none.
Freedom of choice from Big Brother, IBM, was the theme of the groundbreaking 1984 commercial for the launch of Apple Computer's Macintosh.
We were applying this, hey, these people are an audience out there. How can we go captivate and capture their imaginations and their attention?
We are one people. We want will.
With George Orwell's 1984 as inspiration and filmmaker Ridley Scott as director, the minute-long ad cost $400,000 to produce and another $500,000 to air during the Super Bowl.
We use more dramatic filmmaking and entertainment-style storytelling than has ever been used in marketing a product.
We shall prevail.
The company couldn't afford any additional national airings of the commercial, but its captivating storytelling still paid off beyond anyone's expectation. Within 100 days of its broadcast, 72,000 Macintosh computers were sold.
They're kind of acting like an audience would rather than like a consumer would. Ultimately, if they applaud you a couple of times, they may actually go buy something that you make.
By the 1990s, computers around the world were being connected to one another by the internet. Fertile new ground for advertisers.
Advertising follows people, where they congregate and what they read and what they look at. And the underlying power of the internet is we're spending more time looking at the computer screen and less time looking at the TV screen. It's going to drain advertising out of television onto the screen of the computer because that's where people are.
Advertisers quickly logged on, but they are still trying to find their way in the brave new world of cyberspace.
The internet is like the early days of radio and the early days of television. So nobody quite knows how to use it effectively. And I think that's the exciting part about it. How do you turn it into a major advertising medium?
The first step, banner ads, which appeared in 1994. Within a year, agencies were spending $37 million on internet advertising. By 1998, that figure had increased 52 times to nearly $2 billion. For advertisers, one of the advantages of the internet is the information it can provide on potential consumers. Each time a web surfer visits a site, electronic information, called a cookie, is created. Information from these cookies can be used to track the preferences of internet users, what types of books she reads, how often he buys clothes, what sites they visit.
You look at the ability to really narrowcast into a market that you want, a target that you want to hit. You have a live audience 24 hours a day. You know exactly who's on the internet. You know where to find them.
It's like having the NFL on Fox online.
Madison Avenue may know where the people are, but the people don't seem to care where the ads are. Studies show that over 90% of visitors to a typical website never click on the advertising. So, advertisers are trying new approaches to grab consumers.
CyberGo actually pays you to read an ad on the internet. Will pay you dollars. It can be 50 cents up to $10. So we've gone from irritating people to actually paying them money to engage in our advertising is how far it's gone.
Despite its long history and its forays into the future, the overall effectiveness of advertising has long been open to debate, as John Wanamaker of Wanamaker Department Stores knew as far back as the 1880s.
He said, "I know that half my advertising budget is wasted. I just don't know what half." And you've got to remember, back in those days, in the late 1800s, he didn't have as many media choices in a far more complex advertising environment. What percentage of advertising was wasted today? That's the question that advertisers are struggling with.
If it didn't work, people wouldn't be spending millions and billions of dollars. If they're not getting any return on their money, they would stop doing that kind of advertising.
To me, the simplest equation is if you spend $10 and you get 20 back, that's good. It's been proven that if you spend the money, especially if you spend the money well and you advertise well, the results will be enormous.
Advertising can sell products. But the more vexing question is whether ads can make us buy stuff we don't need.
I refuse to accept that people are being led around by the nose and told what to buy. To the extent that we have disposable incomes and that we define ourselves by what we buy, and we do, then advertising facilitates that.
Welcome to the world.
Basically what you see is ads telling you that you're cool, you're hip, you're all right, you're the center of attention, or you should be. You're irresistible, or you should be. And in order to have that power, of course, you have to buy the product, and of course, that never works.
The ad that can cause people to buy a product they don't want has never been written and never will. I mean, advertising can tell people about things, and when they learn about it, they may want it. But if people fundamentally don't want a product, no amount of advertising will cause them to buy it.
While the debate continues over the extent of advertising's effectiveness, one thing is clear. Advertising has become an inescapable part of our lives.
Take it off. Take it all off.
Don't squeeze the Charmin.
My baloney has a first name. Try it, you'll like it.
Time to make the donuts.
Sorry, Charlie.
Don't leave home without it.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
There are not many things that get that much universal exposure as television commercials, and that's one of the reasons that they're such a part of our culture. We don't all go to the same movies, but we see all the same commercials. So they are a common element between us.
Dave, it's a deal with Don, Dork, and Dick. Dork, it's a deal with Dave, Dick, and Dave. Don, it's a Dork with Dick, Dave, and Doug. Gotta go, Dave. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dick. Disconnecting. Gotta go, Dan. Disconnecting.
If you and I were meeting 100 years ago and we had never spoken to each other, I would be able to have a conversation with you maybe by quoting the Bible. If you and I are meeting now and I've never met you, I can say, hey, you deserve a what today? And instantaneously around the world, you know what the word is.
You deserve a break today at McDonald's.
The most gratifying part of this whole business is that what you do, if you get it right, once in a while we do, becomes a part of the popular culture.
Where's the...
People love to watch entertaining commercials. They get a laugh. They love to sing our jingles, and they love to repeat the humor in many of our commercials. I don't know how important it is, but advertising is the
art of the masses, it has been said, and I like to think that we provide enjoyment for everyone.
Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous.
You can have more time for fun and pleasure. Family moments you will treasure. It's an opportunity to live better electrically.
Keep your men going strong. Fill those wide open spaces. Watch the chow line get long. And look at those happy faces.
Will do, Bell Beauty Bar will do. Things for you no soap can do. A-M-T-I-Z-Y-M-E, Listerine and Lime toothpaste. Halo, everybody, halo. Halo is the shampoo that glorifies your hair. So Halo shampoo, Halo.
Kool-Aid, tastes great. Wish we had some, can't wait.
The whole egg in Hellman's makes really smooth and creamy mayonnaise. Looks like it's good.